Okay. Uh, can people hear me through the microphone? Okay. Um, this is a complicated topic. Um, and the reason it's complicated is because for those of us who've been doing genealogy for any period of time at all, okay, we were used to having a little computer program and we put information in it. And over time, that information, actually, if you go back further than that, I had a lot of paper, but we'll ignore that part of my life. And then you began to get places like Ancestry and Family Search and MyHeritage that are websites that allow you to put a family tree on the website. Okay, got that. So you could put your family tree online and carry it around with you. And then the problem you ran into was that all of a sudden you had to somehow see to it that if you had a computer and you had something on it and you had something in Ancestry, that they would suddenly start being different. So what I would do, and I suppose most people did, is about every 6 months, I'd just say, okay, let's just take my computer stuff and create a new GEDCOM. Everybody doesn't know what GEDCOM is. It's a file system that allows the transfer of information from one genealogy program to another. So you can create it out of your program on your desktop computer, and then upload it into Ancestry or Family Tree or something, and there it is. And then a couple of months later, they're different again. GEDCOM is not an app. It is when you export your file from your program, it will say export. How do you want to export it? And you say, I want to export it in the GEDCOM format. Okay, so think of it as an extension. Okay, so like a PDF or something. It's just an extension that describes a file of a particular kind. Okay, and we're very lucky that that exists. Now, these websites are offering hints. They'll look at your computer program or your family tree that's on the website, and they'll say, I think I found a piece of information about that person. Would you like to see it? So, suddenly you see a hint, and the hint says, I think I found this person in the 1950 census. You want to look at them? Sure. Okay. So now we're getting hints. And if the hints are incorrect, then it is increasingly possible to automatically add them to the tree that's in that website. Okay, so we'll talk about that and look at that in a minute. And sometimes you can do it directly into your computer program. But you still got the problem. How do you make these two things be the same? And what's the easiest way to do it? Okay. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to focus, first of all, on the two most productive websites, Family Search and Ancestry. And then I'm going to look at two computer programs, Family Tree Maker and Roots Magic. As you'll see when I go through this, the reason is because these are the two that have a robust synchronizing capability. And unfortunately, the one I've used for years, Family Historian, and the one I used to use, Legacy, do not have. So in thinking about the synchronizing, we'll be talking primarily about these two programs. So, yes. Yeah, we'll demonstrate later today that if you start off with the same program linked between the two, so there's a way to do that. Okay, once they're linked, then once you make any changes, periodically you click on Synchronize Now, and it says, oh, And here are the ones that are different. And if you want to look at them, fine. If you don't, that's fine too. But that's what you get. Okay. And for me, I do some intensive research on my own, but there's a meaning not through the traditional websites. I probably spent 3 days this last month on the Providence Journal, which my wife's family comes from Rhode Island. So it had a lot of really interesting articles about the Kakovskis and the Karnatskis and the Kanasets, all those people, typically with the same spelling. Okay, so the reason we're talking Family Tree Maker and Roots Magic is they really are the only ones that have the fully robust syncing. So let me stop sharing for a second because I want to go to okay, we're going to go to Ancestry, and I'm going to look at how Ancestry today offers hints. These magic little green leaves are hints. So I have Francis Xavier Maynard, okay, father from Canada, Maurice Menard. And when they got here, they anglicized the name to Maynard. One of our favorite pictures in our family history for this family is the tombstone, which has Maurice and Onesme, the parents, on the side with the name Menard. And on the other side, it has Francis and Virginia with the name Maynard. No question about the transfer. So let's look at what kind of things they're offering us here. There we go, Francis Xavier. So they have 13 hints. Let's look at those hints. Okay, so somebody has a tree that has information about him. I'm not terribly interested in somebody else's tree. So I'm going to say, let's ignore that one. Okay. This is a picture of a tombstone. Okay. By the way, Brooklyn is Brooklyn, Connecticut. Just to have to be clear on that. So I can review that. So here's a picture. This is the tombstone I talked about a moment ago. I can save it to the tree. Okay. And it will save not only, I'll ask you if you wanted to say why you accepted the hint, but it'll save the picture, it'll save the date, and it will save the source. So you have all the information you would put in if you were doing it mechanically, but it's right there. Now it's done. We can go to the next one. Oh, I see Norway is back. Hello, Norway. At least I assume you're not coming in from Norway. I have to get rid of this thing. There we go. So, and it may be useful, for example, to actually talk about why you decided a particular piece of information was valid. Okay, that certainly is true in normal research. You'll find something that you say, oh, that's interesting. Now, I want to go back at this point to the original. So I'm going to go back to the tree. Okay, and I want to go down here to Virginia because Virginia is sort of an interesting person. Virginia Davignon. I have 11 hints. If we can see what those hints look like. Okay, here's Virginia. And there's her with her husband. Find a grave. On down. This you'll find frequently. This is a child, okay, Albina, and her mother is Jenny, Virginia. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I didn't see it. Uh, this becomes one of those names that in French often is an apostrophe. So what will show up is a D apostrophe, okay, Davignon. And needless to say, depending on what program you're working with, that alphabetizes in weird ways. Okay. So you sort of see what we're doing here in terms of the review. Now, if I can figure out how to do this, I want to go to the other program. Okay, now we're going to go to Family Tree Maker for a minute. Okay. We have a family tree here. Okay, let's look at the tree. And again, we're going to find here these little symbols that say, I have a hint for you. So if I'm in family tree, I can go click on one of these. Let's see if I've got, yeah, I'm just going over to family tree to show you that these are the way hints work. They're available. You can click on them. You can add them to the tree that's in that. You can also click on them and say, okay, I'll put it by hand into my computer program. But it's a very robust reference. Okay. Yes. Yes. No. And what we're going to do in a minute is when we get to the synchronizing part of the discussion, I will show you how important it is to be able to have that if you want to get information from family tree. Okay, the family search family tree. Okay, because all of their information is cross-coded by that ID. Yeah. Um, oh, I can get the lights down. Just a moment. I should have the lights down. Thank you for your suggestion. We had a suggestion to get the lights down. Is that a little bit better? Oh, well. Okay, so here we have Virginia again. Let's go take a look at what we have for Virginia. Here are the hints with Virginia. Okay, the question here is, why would you do two different searches, family search and ancestry? And the answer, because they have different databases. Different databases. Similarly, we'll talk later about MyHeritage. We'll talk about Find My Past. All of these have somewhat unique databases and somewhat common databases. Okay? Thank you. The question is, can you get your information from Ancestry to Family Search? And the answer is that the best way to do it is to download it into one of the computer programs and upload it out of that program. Yeah. Or crosstab. But we'll do the best we can. Or let me hold that for a minute, okay? Well, yes. Okay. There's a yes but here. My wife says I'm always filled with yes buts. Okay, so here are record hints that are in the um, family search. So here's Rhode Island Vital Records, okay? And here is a Canadian census, 1861. She would have been an infant, okay? So there are a lot, and this is, some of this is unique. The question we had about was, why would you look at different sites? And the answer is because some of them have information that others don't. There are also cases where you look at different sites because the indexing of the information is better. And one of the weirdest ones is if you want to look at US censuses, each of the major sites has a different copy of the census. And sometimes the one you want to look at is illegible. So you go to another one and it's perfectly fine. Who knows? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, we have a comment here about the DNA being different, analysis being different. That's next month's topic. Next month's topic, we're going to talk about each of the different sites that does DNA analysis and how they differ, okay, which has become a more and more important. So does everybody have a sense of how hints work, okay? And the main thing the hints are doing is making it easier for you because they now have an intelligent capability of searching. So for example, we had Jenny a minute ago as the mother of Virginia instead of Virginia, okay? You and I all know that Jenny is a legitimate diminutive for Virginia. Okay, so does the computer. So those are the kind of things that it does. Okay. Are there any questions in the audience on Zoom? Assuming not, we will now go back to the show. Okay. So when we were on Ancestry, we got there by initially by taking our old computer program, creating one of these GEDCOMs, and then uploading it into Ancestry. So Ancestry now had that tree. Okay. It immediately starts looking for matches. And wherever there are matches, you'll get this little green leaf uh, and events appear. You can add them or reject them. If you are an Ancestry subscriber, all of the green leaf suggestions are available to you. If you're not a subscriber, you can still upload a tree and it'll still give you suggestions, but you will become very frustrated because most of them are blacked out because you're not a subscriber. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay. The question here is I've got an old computer program. GEDCOMs can have existed for decades. It did. So all you have to do is find the program and find the database and download it, and you will now have an available family tree. Okay? Yes. Yeah. The question here is let's suppose I have a computer and I've done a GEDCOM and uploaded it to Ancestry, and then 6 months later I have all sorts of changes and I want to update Ancestry. The only way you do that is you download a new GEDCOM out of your program. You ask Ancestry to upload it. with a new name. And then you can delete, there's a process by which you can delete the old one. Okay. Typical cleanup stuff that, at least as I've gotten older, I don't do as often as I should. Peggy. Yeah. Exactly. Peggy's pointing out that she has Family Tree Maker and Ancestry, and she just syncs them. And the answer is, if you have Family Tree Maker 2019 and Ancestry, they will just sync. You have to go, you have to click a button to sync it, but they just sync. We're going to end up there today. Okay, but for the rest of us, that's not the way the world's been working. And then for Family Search, same thing, little blue record symbol. And again, you can add them or dismiss them. Okay, and you have to be a little careful with that, because what you're going to find is it isn't always obvious what you have to click in order to say, I want that piece of information, or what you have to click to say, I don't want that piece of information. And it's like a lot of things. We'll talk about this again today. If you do it regularly, it'll work out fine. But if you don't do it for 3 or 4 months and you go back to it, you'll say, what the heck was I supposed to do here? Okay.
Hey, George.
Yes.
Are you going to talk about the MyHeritage smart matches?
Indirectly, I will as we come to the end.
Thank you.
All right. So now let's talk about Roots Magic. The way that you link Roots Magic and Family Tree Maker to Ancestry is you start with the tree and Ancestry. And there's a process to now download that into Roots Magic or Family Tree Maker. And once you do that, they'll talk to each other. It's really the only way it works, but it works just fine. So when you do that and you open up your Roots Magic, we'll go to Roots Magic in a minute, you're going to see you have to sign into Family Search too. And you're going to see this little funny symbol with a pair of indicators. And we'll see this in a second, but the one on the left indicates there are some hints I've got for you. The one on the right says you are or are not connected to a person on Family Search. And that's very important, because that's how they know what you got on Family Search. So there's a process you have to go through of connecting. Now, in addition to that, Roots Magic will check Find My Past and My Heritage. Now, when I say they'll check that, don't misunderstand. It's the old-fashioned, if I highlight Virginia Davignon, and then I say, I want to search Virginia on My Heritage, it will simply copy the information for her into My Heritage, search it, and say, this is what I find matching. And if you find something interesting, you can't synchronize it, but you do have it right there. So it's a simplified way of running a search. Now, I'm going to go in for a minute on My Heritage and Find My Past. My Heritage is working very hard to be a competitive site to Ancestry and others. And it has become a more and more competitive site over time. Find My Past is the place to go if you have British heritage. It has an amazing amount of British information, and it doesn't really care how much it has outside of Britain, the old Commonwealth. It has, you know, like the U.S. censuses, things like that. Generally speaking, you can accept, reject, or say undecided with a particular hint. Okay. And the way I tend to view hints is there are two kinds of hints. One of them is, that's new information for me. I really want to hold on to that information. The other one is, okay, I didn't type in the name of the location of that event quite the way that people want to see it typed in. Okay. I typed in Warwick, Rhode Island, and not Warwick, Kent, Rhode Island, because Kent's the county. And they always want me to put the county in. So am I going to worry about that? Not me, but that's okay. Anyway, so think about hints not from the viewpoint that they're some sort of biblical thing you have to do, but rather you're looking for new information. That's the heart of it. All right, let's go over to yes, it's a computer program that sits on your laptop or your desktop. Okay, and the Roots Magic. I put Roots Web down at the bottom. Roots Magic costs $39.95. Okay. The advantage is it will synchronize. Now, Family Tree Maker will as well. Family Tree Maker has been one of the real workhorse website programs for your computer. Again, you have to link to Ancestry by downloading the tree, and then every time you sign in, you have to say, "Hi, I'm here. Sign me into Ancestry too." Okay, because otherwise it doesn't know who you are on Ancestry. And then you have to sign into Family Search. But here you'll get Ancestry, Family Search, and an old website called Roots Web that has some interesting information for what it's worth. Now, Family Tree Maker, you have an old version of Family Tree Maker, you can get a discount on the updated version. Okay, I had Family Tree Maker 2017. I think the upgrade was $60 instead of $80. Okay. All right, so we're going to go take a look at those two programs. Okay, this is Family Tree Maker. So I put in here a particular family. The family I'm working on here is my grandson's father's family. Okay, and it has some interesting people in it. This would be Harley Wade would be his great grandfather. Oh,
Can't.
I haven't done sharing yet, George. All right, here we go. Thank you. All right, have a tree now? Online, I assume we have a tree. If you don't, whistle. Okay, so you can see here they've got the whole family. I can back this up. Okay, so Wade Wilson is my grandson's father. And his father turns out to be an oopsie because he was adopted. And one of my current DNA analyses is trying to figure out who he really is. So we'll focus on Gail and her father and her mother and father. Rosemary Calzone is one of my favorite research projects. She is still living. We just celebrated her 100th birthday. And Rosemary was born in Italy, came over at age 2. And if you want to have fun searching on Google, try searching Rosemary Calzone, and I can get you a dozen recipes. Okay, so let's focus here on Harley Wade. Harley and Mabel Cronice are interesting. So when I click here, what I'm going to get is I have ancestry hints, that's the blue, and then I have possible tree matches on the tree that's with family search. So let's do the tree matches first. Computer's a little slow today. Okay, so these are possible people. Instructions. Okay, so these are people. First of all, I happen to know that Harley Wade's wife was Mabel. So we're going to basically, oh, but I've got Harley Wade up above. So what I've got actually turns out to be two marriages. And it's very interesting because in the 1930 census, after Harley and Mabel have had their children, she shows up as a widow. You look in the census, and she's a widow. He, meanwhile, has a new Irish girlfriend he's living with down in Oakland. Okay. So luckily he has a name that's easy to recognize. So it turns out that I'm going to want both of these people as my links. And I have to figure out how to do that. But okay. So a lot of complications in that family. But I can link them to get information. And the information I want is a term here called merge, which combines the two. Okay. Now I want to go back. If I can figure out how to do that. Okay, Harley Wade. I'm going to look at the end. Well, this is a family search hint. Oh, okay. I'm going to take this one as my match. So now I have a code number for this person in family search, which means I can always track the information in family search that relates to this person. We'll ignore that for the moment. Okay. So these are hints. Oh, I think I have to sign into Ancestry. Up in the upper right-hand corner here, I've got two symbols. That one's family search, and I have to, if I go here, I can synchronize now. And this is what you were talking about, Peggy. You know, that once you got family tree and ancestry talking to each other, you can synchronize them at any point. They just have the same information. Welcome to Green Weather. This is a program that says, before we try to synchronize these, we'll just tell you that it's okay to do that because computers aren't messed up, or the internet isn't messed up, or anything else. Yeah. This syncs the entire, yeah, this syncs the entire tree. Okay. And there are changes to one person in this, but it looks at everybody. Okay, it's a complete synchronizing. And by the way, it synchronizes both ways. I can have been on Ancestry and made some changes there. And then I could have put some data into my family tree maker on my computer. And then I can say synchronize, and it'll run the data both ways. The synchronization work with MyHeritage only with their proprietary program. They have a proprietary program. Yeah, they have a special program that is designed for your computer to go with MyHeritage. Okay, and that's the only way you get synchronization. We'll talk about that at the end. Okay, so moving along, I'm going to go to Roots Magic. So this is Roots Magic. We're still looking at the same family. Okay, and the little blue thing here says I've already matched Harley. If I go to Mabel, she's not matched. So if I clicked on this, it will look for a possible match to Mabel. Yep, there's one. Looks good to me. So I'm going to click that and say match them. So I now have Mabel matched. If you want to be matched with family search, the family search family tree, you do have to go through this process for individuals you want to match. Okay. Now we'll look at Mabel, see what suggestions they've got. Okay, they have suggestions from Ancestry and from MyHeritage. Now the MyHeritage suggestions, again, are they will take you to MyHeritage, they'll show you the links that they've come up with, but there's no automatic transfer of that information. You have to do it by hand. Okay. Whereas with Ancestry, they're going to take us, these are a list of all the hints, and I can go down and see what I want to grab. Okay. That's a newspaper obituary. That could be interesting with a photo. Okay, so I'm going to accept that. Attach the photo. And now that's part of the record. Okay. So I can do that for all of these. And then I can synchronize the same way, except in this case, it's the bottom left corner. So okay, I'm collecting changes. Okay. Yes. Okay. So let me go back to the talk, because the next thing I want to do is to talk about the whole process. Okay. So Family Tree Maker, retail cost is $79.95. As I indicated, if you're upgrading from an older version, there's a discount. Getting used to hints. The way I would treat this is like any other skill. You don't start with the hardest things, you start with the easiest things. So I'd start with a few people that you know reasonably well, so you're not surprised by pieces of information trying to figure out what that means. Okay. I would not, for example, in my case, start with Harley Wade and his wife Mabel. Okay. There's an unexpected child in there. There's the Irish girl and her children. There's all sorts of stuff that requires me to think a long time about how I want to present that in the database. So pick two or three, and go through the process with them. Just familiarize yourself how to incorporate the hints. Then pick two or three that you want to understand better and see what you can get. And then I'd say, as a common rule, maybe every time when you sign in, you do a couple, just as a matter of homework. Okay. Takes 10 minutes, gives you a chance to get updated. Peggy. Yep. Yep. No, you don't need to. Okay. The family tree maker to ancestry is a straight synchronization. I will put data into my computer because I find it easier to put data in if, for example, I'm searching the Providence Journal, okay, which I've paid $25 for a month, and I get a month worth of working hard. What's the heck hidden in the archives? Okay, I put that stuff into the family tree maker, and then that will sync back up to Ancestry when I do the syncing. Okay, so it goes both ways. Absolutely. No. Once again, the MyHeritage only syncs to its own little program it has, which I forget the name of. I'll remember in a minute. I'm not sure which they you're referring to. MyHeritage. You have the MyHeritage on the cloud up in the internet. Then they do have an associated program you can put on your computer that will sync up and down. Okay, but it doesn't sync with anything else. Yeah. So what we've had here is a little review of the fact is that none of these programs cross sync with everything else. Okay. So therefore, the method you use, we were just going through, can be simply, I want to cut and paste. Okay. Copy information, copy a document, whatever. Think of it in the way you've historically done research, where you found a piece of information and you enter it into your computer. I tend to like to put stray information into my computer first, because that way I know what I'm doing. But that's only because I've done it for 25 years. And then synchronizing. But the synchronizing is limited. And the real pairings, MyHeritage, and I'll come back to the name of the program in a second because I forget it. Okay. Let's now talk about synchronizing. With Roots Magic, you click on the leaf symbol and automatically synchronizes both ways. The only way you get information from Family Search is through that code. So once you have the code, you're going to get hints. The hints will be ones you can copy and enter into your data. There's nothing automatic about the entry. Similarly, with Family Tree Maker, except it's the leaf in the bottom, in the right corner, okay? And if you find you have a possible hit, you have to match with that number to get the number out of Family Search for that person. Now, obviously you can merge a few records at a time, which is I think what I used to do a lot of. Is this better? Okay. Sue used the fallback method of closing the door. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way of just downloading a GEDCOM and updating periodically. Okay. I will point out that Ancestry does not allow merging of trees. We were talking earlier about the process. If you have an updated GEDCOM, can you upload it into Ancestry? And the answer is yes, but it won't merge with an old one. Okay, you pretty much have to do it from scratch. So that's one of the reasons I keep a separate database. Okay, Roots Magic gets some hints from MyHeritage and Find My Past. Family Tree Maker can search Find My Past, but there are no links. Ancestral Quest, which is a British program, can synchronize with Family Search. MyHeritage and Family Search sync with each other. Family Tree Builder is the name of the program that we were talking about. Yeah. Family Tree Builder can synchronize with MyHeritage. And that is actually the program. It's if you're a subscriber to MyHeritage, you can download that program for free. Then that's on your computer. Nobody can synchronize with Find My Past, but a lot of different areas can find hints. Okay. I guess the British aren't big on the techie stuff. If you are an LDS member, there are some things you can do that are more robust than what we've talked about. And if so, you can talk to Pat or other people who know what they're doing. But suffice it to say, there are some others if you are an LDS member. All right. I have concluded that if you really want to have robust synchronization, you need to look at Roots Magic and Family Tree Maker. I have come out on Roots Magic because it has hints from Find My Past and MyHeritage as well. If you were to consider changing a program, the first thing to do is download the free version, okay, and play around with it a little bit and decide, yeah, I can work with that. That works for me. Or, I would hate to have to use that every day. Okay? Okay. Yeah, the 2019 will read your OData. Okay. Actually, what I would probably do is get if you're going to do it, do the 2019 first. Then I would do the change. I'd bring that old Family Tree Maker program, GEDCOM. 2020, you know, I'm saying it right. When you get the 2019, your old Family Tree Maker tree will read into the 2019. So what you want to do once you get 2019, just find where you have hidden that family tree. Don't worry about the old program. Okay. Now they may ask you, who are you, and do you remember who you are to get the discount? Yeah, right. Okay. Two other things. If you have a special software program you just love, please be sure to check and see if it does things that you are happy with regard to hints and linking that I may not have seen. The other one is to recognize this is a competitive world, and there's going to be more of this, not less. There's going to be a whole AI component to it, okay, for real. I mean, good AI. You can expect other software companies have to be competitive. They have to figure out how to do this. Okay, do we have any questions in the Zoom audience? Do we have any questions in the room? I'm going to actually this time, I'll actually pass out the microphone. You get it first. Then Peggy wants it behind you.
Okay. If I do GEDCOM from Ancestry to Family Search,
Sure.
it goes into the public tree, correct?
No. You can upload and create your own tree.
Oh.
But be sensitive to the fact they're going to hound you to link it into the big family tree.
No, because too many people don't like when I put things in.
I'm just telling you that will happen. Okay. But that's partly because they have a lot of information in the big family tree. Is everybody familiar with the idea of the Family Search family tree? What it is they are trying to put together a universal family tree with everybody in one place who's related to another. So I may have Mabel Cronice on there, and in my database, I'll have her parents. I don't particularly care who her siblings were. They'll have all the siblings, okay, because they care. Okay, so it's a great thing, but it can be very confusing if you're trying to keep your tree in control and may have some information on it that you do or do not necessarily want to share.
I've had to make corrections just on my father because they had his name misspelled and they had his date of birth wrong.
Yeah, there's a whole series of possible errors. And if you are into it and really care about it, you can correct the errors. I have a case in my family where a Revolutionary War captain had a series of children, and effectively he disowned one child. So depending on what documents you believe, there either were 9 children or there were 8 children. And I can guarantee you that it's like every week, it will suddenly go from 8 to 9. And then the week after that, it'll go from 9 to 8. Peggy.
I think I kind of answered my own question. I was going to ask again about how I could sync Ancestry to Family Search, but I shouldn't, because then people can change my information. I don't want that.
Yeah, and you don't sync with Family Search, but you have a more robust way to get hints into your database.
Hints what?
To get a hint from Family Search into your database is easier, okay? But you're not going to sync with the tree that's on Family Search.
Oh, so I
Okay.
wouldn't have to worry about people changing my information then?
Nope. I'm hearing a yes, you do up in the front here. So I find the Family Search, family tree discussion to be very complicated.
Oh,
And I would say, unless you really want to use Family Search that way, use it instead just as a source of hints, and you can copy the hints. If
well,
you
but,
find
how,
things,
but how do I do that?
well, you can do it the old-fashioned way, which is start by writing the things down that are important and copying documents, and cut and paste your documents.
Well, I mean, already have some info. I started with Family Search, so I
Yeah.
have a little bit on there, but then I stopped using it and I went to Ancestry.
Once you, if you have Family Tree Maker,
I do.
okay, it will find the hints for each individual once you link that individual to the Family Search master tree. Okay. If you adopt a hint, it's not looking at your data in your computer at all. It's just an easy way for you to copy the information from Family Search. Do you follow me? Don't think of it as though you're updating the tree on Family Search. You're not.
Okay.
That's the key point.
I'm just getting some hints from them.
Yeah. And it just happens that the hints are easier to integrate onto your computer. And then once they're on your computer, zip zap, they're in Ancestry.
Okay.
We have a question up here. Can you pass it down?
Yes, I do. We started with Ancestry.com as one of the main online
Yep.
software that you use for keeping your genealogy. That happens to be what I started with.
Yep.
So that you were suggesting, oh, this would be a good idea, pay the $79 and get that, whatever it was.
Well, I've always had one on my computer.
I see. But if a person is in my situation, uses ancestry.com, that links with MyHeritage, which is the other one that I
Yep.
use a lot. I'll check with Family Search to see what they have, but that's not one that I really
Yeah.
try to keep up.
The thing to remember, nothing here keeps you from conventional searches.
Right.
You can still open up your browser, go to Family Search, and say, I want to search for Mabel Cronice, who was born in this year up in Oregon. Okay, what can you tell me about her? And it will pile out some information.
Right.
Okay, and then like anything else, you just have to enter that information. What's happened has been an amazing amount of information that is linking pieces of data. Okay, and I find that I'm spending more time looking at the links in many cases than I am in doing original research. Okay. And it's just become, it's nothing more than what we're facing every day. The computer has more and more information that is on it and accessible. Have a question? No. I'm gone to Roots Magic. I've gone to Roots Magic.
In terms of, I went to Family Search
Yep.
in the beginning, and I put a few relatives in just to see how it worked.
Right.
And then I said, forget this. And I moved on to My Heritage because I liked the local,
Right.
and it was more computerized for me. Now I'd like to go and create, do the GEDCOM up to Family Search, but I have these few relatives out there who have IDs on them. Does it allow you to do that? Can I GEDCOM
Oh, yeah.
into, in those IDs? I don't
Sure,
have to
they-
worry about to load it.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, but the main thing that tends to get people concerned about putting their family tree on Family Search is pretty soon you're into a debate about, am I going to have that information in the master tree, the big universal tree? And if you do, how do you protect it against not spelling the grandfather's name correctly kind of problem? I mean, I went back and forth for the longest time with somebody on my own grandfather. I'm George McKinney III. Okay. When he was born, my grandfather was named George McKinney. Okay. When he had his first son, it was George McKinney Jr. And he changed his name, not legally, but in all documents to George McKinney Sr. So to me, he's George McKinney Sr. And every time I sat on the Family Search, somebody's changed it and taken the senior off. And they're technically correct. That was not what was on his birth record. But that's not what everybody knew at Mass. So, okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, next time what we're going to focus on is DNA. But what we're going to really focus on is there are many different programs now that are doing DNA analysis. And let's look at how they all differ from each other. Then 2 months from now, we're going to have a discussion on, if you're German, how do we figure out where the hell you came from in Germany? Okay. I mean, Germany. Yeah, I mean, yeah, all the above. Yeah. Well, if you came over in the Ellis Island period, things are wonderful. The problem is if you came over with most of the Germans in the early mid 1800s, a little complicated. So we'll have a professional, semi-professional lecturer on that.
George,
Okay.
this is Bill Gibson. I just wanted to say this is an amazing session. I appreciate your really taking the time and to come back and talk to us. You're right on with the changes that are happening, and it's kind of a microcosm, but I'm grateful that you're there, and thanks for a really good session. Appreciate it.
Okay, Peggy has a comment here.
Oh, can you at some time help us figure out how to find out how some DNA matches are related to us when they either have no tree or a tiny tree?
The short answer is you got to do a lot of homework.
Well,
But
what's the
I can
long
give you-
answer?
Yeah, I have gone to the route that literally I have taken the information. Obviously, the first place you start is you ask the person if they're willing to be helpful to you. Okay. And the place I usually start with that is I start by saying, if I can find common matches, in other words, this person matches with these other 5 people. And I say, hey, one of those is up my Lilly family tree. Then I'll go back to them and I say, are you related to any of the Lillies in West Virginia? Okay, and that has a higher chance of getting a response than just a, tell me what you know about your family tree. Once I get a response, I go to the, take me to your grandparents. If you can take me to your grandparents, I can usually do the research myself to see if there's a link. Okay, but sometimes the finding a person means you have to search the internet for somebody whose email is johnsmith4654@gmail.com. And if you're lucky, you find them.
Georgia, perhaps a teaser for your next week DNA thing.
Yep, next
I
month.
I kind of discovered myself that if you look on Ancestry or on MyHeritage, my experience was best with MyHeritage on this, but you click on DNA and then you've got a long list. If you click on DNA matches, if you've already done the sample on the kit and everything, you click and have it on the computer, you've activated your kit. I'm talking about now you've done all that. And so you have DNA to look at. If you haven't done that, you don't have DNA, obviously, to look at. But I would go to the top, click DNA, go down the list and click DNA matches. And then with MyHeritage, it shows somewhere down there. You can also do a search at the top for someone you're interested in. And then it will show various people in the same order you have.
Jim, you're right in the middle of where we're going to be next month. Okay, because we'll look at that.
I thought it might be a teaser.
There are some very complicated technical things we're not going to talk about. Okay, but there is a whole subculture around what's called triangulation, which is where you literally get the DNA by chromosome and look for where people match in the chromosomes. And you say, gee, I got these 4 people, all of whom match on chromosome 12 between this point and that point. That's probably great granddaddy Samuel, if you follow me. Okay, that's what I probably got from him. But we're not going to go there next time. We're going to go the easy way. Thank you all. See you next month.
Thank you, George.
Yep.